Alright, time to pump. This is Hear the Vybez with your boy Elliot Ness, putting it down for the Caribbean people and them. Where's the vibes, people? Where's the scene? So today is the 20th of October 2022, episode 1 of Hear the Vybez, and we have an interesting topic today. We have the topic of Trinidad Killa not being booked for Tobago Carnival and him deciding to hang it all up, to put his guns down, so to speak. So let's get it. So first off, for those who may not know, who is this Trinidad Killa? Who is Trinidad Killa in the grand scheme of the whole entertainment industry in Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean? Now, Trinidad Killa has hits. Let's not beat around the bush and pretend that he's a nobody. He has hits. He may not be as established as other artists that are bigger in the space, but he is bubbling and he's coming up. His most recent hit is Come Down From There, right? And he had previous hits that I would have enjoyed, such as Digest and probably Gunman in Your Hole, which was more humorous and memeable than anything else for me. But again, it was a hit. It did play in parties, so let's not pretend like it didn't. The whole issue is that Trinidad Killa is not everyone's cup of tea. He straddles that line between soca and Trinidad and the zest culture, which doesn't make him very mainstream. But given his accolades and given that he has performed internationally or intra-regionally or within the Caribbean diaspora, and many people do enjoy his music. Given that within his own home country of Trinidad and Tobago, as we know, it's two islands, one country, right? Tobago just recently this year, within October, I shouldn't say within October, but has carded October as Tobago Carnival. So naturally, within that carnival environment, within that carnival space, comes soca music or Trinbago music, depending on how you want to look at it. So given that backdrop, Trinidad Killa was not booked for any fete. So he claims. He came up on Instagram or was it Facebook? We'll figure it out later. He came up on social media to make that claim that how could he not be booked by Tobago promoters for Tobago Carnival? And he further went on live and said basically, well, listen, obviously he's not appreciated and he's hanging up his his jacket as an entertainer and bringing that chapter to his life to an end. For me, I think he's trolling. That is me in the latter part. In the first part, he's probably serious in that, hey, listen, I am an established Trinbagonian artist. How could you not book me? I have hits. I have performed. It is legitimate that, that I be respected and that I could bring people out to your fete, right? And the latter half, probably on the live, it's easy, given the character of Trinidad Killa, that it could all be a troll on the latter half, that he's hanging it up. Whatever, driving up controversy as he normally does and getting those clicks and those views. Chasing that clout. But let's get into the first part of the argument. Trinidad Killa basically said Tobago promoters. I think that is very presumptuous. I don't think within the Tobago Carnival it is only Tobago promoters, and I also think you have to look at the context of how Tobago October's Carnival happened. It's coming straight off the pandemic. A lot of people weren't sure what is happening. I personally think, right, that the promoters who were able to mobilize, or who had the pockets, or who could have gotten the financing, is just not Trinidad Killa's crowd.
Poor people.
That is just the honest truth. I think that the promoters that would book Trinidad Killa is probably waiting next year in 2023, and they are going to go crazy, and he'll get bookings like that. It's a good argument in the front half. But when you really get down into it, I mean, come on. You have to look at the whole context of it. I think that the promoters just did not book him, or the type of promoters that would normally book him did not get their financing, was not ready, because it came after a rocky start earlier in the early half of the year. You know what I mean? About this October and Tobago Carnival, and it was very rocky. It's more or less around August, it kind of solidified. Okay, yeah, we're doing this thing, right? And then, you know what I mean, coming down near to it, plans got more firm. You got vets being booked. But again, I don't think it's a knock against Trinidad Killa. I do think the rush to confirm things last minute, he probably got left out in the rush. And I do think probably the promoters who would consider him didn't have enough lead time to really prepare, because again, after October, November, December, people are preparing for Carnival. The main Carnival, the Trin Begonian or Trinidad Carnival. So again, it's a kind of odd space in 2022 to navigate. I do believe in 2023 and beyond, when people more or less get a handle on what this thing is, that you will have people be brave enough to put up the money in order to book people like Trinidad Killa and cater to those crowds within the Tobago Carnival space. So now we could talk about the latter half of his rant or his social media expose. He claims that he's hanging up his entertainment jacket. He's done with it. I don't believe him. It speaks to the personality. Trinidad Killa is known to drive up views with drama and controversy, and who knows, from this he might even get a booking, which is what really it's all about. It's about him getting his paper. It's about him putting his art form and getting that continued exposure and building his brand. So I'm not taking that second part seriously. I'm not gonna give that much more air or gas, but you know how it is inside Trinidad and Tobago. You have to get those eyes on you, and even in entertainment in general, you have to get those eyes on you, and I just think that that's his vehicle of doing so. So that is my whole take on this whole Trinidad Killa not being booked in October and him hanging up his jacket. But tell me, what do you think? How do you see? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments. Let me hear your voice. Where's the vibes, people? Where's the scene?